Good morning. Good morning. Welcome everybody to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I'm here with my good friends Dan and Sandy and Catherine. And today we're talking about chapter 14 of the book, The 5 Love Languages for Singles by Gary Chapman. And of course, we picked the book for singles because we know that, a lot of people are single, even though there's a lot of married people too, but the single version talks about other relationships other than just dating and marriage, but also life, family and friends and coworkers and all of that kind of thing. So it's been a great book so far, and we're in the last chapter. But before we get going on our discussion for this last chapter, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce yourselves. So guys, jump on out. And
Hi, this is Catherine from Boulder, Colorado.
Good morning, Sandy. Root here in sunny Miami Beach. It's still hot here, still got the air conditioning running here. I sometimes forget that the rest of the country has some snow in some parts. I'm in La La Land over here. I don't know. Weird place to be.
Dan Sissick in Las Vegas, Nevada, and we're actually cold. We've gotten down into the 40s, and Monday we're supposed to be getting down into the 30s overnight, and only highs in the 60s. So it's getting cold here, and I'm wanting my summer back.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's almost as cold out there as what it is here in Indiana. Oh, that's pretty amazing. But yeah, snow out there, Catherine, I heard. I saw that, and my husband was telling me the other day, he's like, they're talking snow. And I'm like, no, they're not. No, don't tell me that. It's evil. Or not evil, but I don't like snow. Kind of like Sandy. I'd rather be down there. But, my husband likes everything up here. So I had to come back up here, But anyway. Okay, so chapter 14 is titled Success and Love is the Key. And of course, throughout this book, we've discussed the different love languages, and everybody, kind of has some different way that they express love. And so they're talking about success in terms of just your relationships in general and how you define success as well. So, when you guys read through this chapter, let me just read a little section up here. So it says, okay, so at the beginning it says, I've never met a single adult who aspired to become a failure. And of course that can go for married people too, anyone for that matter. Everyone wants to succeed, but what is success? Ask a dozen people and you may be getting a dozen answers. I like the definition of a friend of mine shared. Success is making the most of who you are with what you've got. Every person has the potential to make a positive impact on the world. Success is not measured by the amount of money you possess or the position you attain, but rather in what you do with what you've got. Position and money can be squandered or abused, but they can also be used to help others. We typically speak of success in specific areas of life, such as financial, educational, vocational. We also attach the word to sports, family, religion, and relationships. What we mean when we say that people are successful in one of these areas, got to get to the next page, is if they've accomplished the goals they've set for themselves. Whatever the category and whatever our view of success, we are more likely to succeed if we effectively love people. And then it goes on to talk about success in business and relationships. But what do you guys think? How important do you feel that love is in creating success in your life?
I was going to jump out and say I like the definition that he gave, because it's not the definition most people look at. They jump to success as being, I'm successful in my work life. I attained this position or attained that, or I have a successful marriage because we've been married for, like you and your husband, how long you have been married, or like my brother and his wife, they've been married 25 years, and a lot of people nowadays would say that's a successful marriage because, that 25 years is a long time compared to like my grandparents who were married 51 years. until my grandfather passed away. So for me, and we tend to really categorize success, but we forget that, you know, having relationships that are good, healthy, loving, strong relationships is a good key and to me, a good foundation for what brings about all the other catalysts for success in other areas, I think. And that's me personally. And I think that's something the world as a whole misses to a degree. And I think in other parts of the world, maybe they understand it a little better than we do here in America.
I was thinking along those lines as well, like having the base of good relationships just expands into the other areas of success. Like, I mean, even with work, with just going to networking events and meeting new people, like you never know what somebody else knows or who they know or how, in what ways they can help you. And just in certain situations, like even if you get to know someone over time, like really building that core, that foundation of a relationship, just it brings so much more into your life if you have amicable relations with others. It just spreads out into every area. Like, yeah, like you feel more healthy too when you have good relationships. If relationships bad, I know for myself, it's like there's anxiety, my stomach hurts, my palpitations, and I know it's not good for my body if I'm having a relationship that's causing me those symptoms in my body. Like, so to have that for your health, to have for, I think it boosts your career. If you feel good in relationships, you feel good with yourself when you feel good in your relationship. So it just naturally, if you're feeling good, it just expands into every area. And I think there were some other points in the chapter that are coming to mind, but we'll get to them because I can't think of them at the moment.
Yeah, I think we all define success differently, but I like the way that they defined it, doing the best you can with what you got. Basically, because, like yesterday, I felt like I had a successful day. I didn't make as much money as I wanted to, but I really, I had like a rider that needed several stops, and it got all confused, and the app was going to charge her like $1,200 or something, and we had to get on with customer service. Like it turned into a simple ride turned in like a 2-hour excursion, but I got her taken care of. We had a pleasant, lovely conversation. She was also a nurse for 35 years, and like our kids were the same age. It was really amazing, and always amazing that God put her in my car, because any other driver would have just dropped her off on the side of the road. I'm serious. So, it was, it was, but I felt like a success. Like I felt good at the end of the day. But if I was judging myself by how much money I made, I would have been a total failure yesterday. But that's not how I looked at it. So I think it's important how you define certain things.
That's funny that you mentioned that, how you look at it and your perspective of it, because I understand exactly how you feel. Like when I've done a few rides myself, and I've had a couple people, and they were like new to the app or didn't understand how to do this or how to add a stop or stuff, or you know I've had a couple times where they put in the totally wrong address, and then we had to find the right address. Instead of getting upset or mad, it's like, okay, we'll figure it out. If you don't mind helping me, because I need my app on so I can continue to ride, so it shows that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing. But if you can look up the address or get me the address and kind of help get me there, you know, I'm more than willing to do what needs to be done. Sometimes it's that, perspective of just doing what's right and what's best. And after few of those times, I really had a really great feeling, because it's like, you know, they were happy with what I did. I didn't just, leave them stranded or something, because Catherine's right. Other people, other drivers might have done that because, oh, they're losing out on money, or they're losing out on this, and you're taken away from, and they forget that aspect, the human aspect of it sometimes. And I think that can define success even more than the amount of money you make. And I've had those feelings myself too, where, wow, I only made this much today, but look what I did. I really, made somebody feel better and comfortable, especially in a city they don't know and stuff like that. So, you know, that's part of loving people genuinely, just in general. I think, to be able to have that capability to do that, I think that helps, when you can do that. And this book has helped me realize that a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that that is huge, really. I mean, when you start thinking about success in a different way. And, I was listening to another podcast, not related to what we're talking about, but related to business in general. And this guy, he was like, I talk to a lot of people, and, and sometimes they'll tell me, oh, I'm posting more on Instagram, or I'm doing, some kind of a task that is excuse me, that is just kind of like this undefined task. They're just doing it because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And they're like, and the coach, he's sitting there saying, well, why are you doing it? What's your purpose for doing it? Because I can't tell you whether it's good or not unless I know what your goal is, and what your defined level of success is. And I think that's really important. I mean, if we talk about relationships, and if you're struggling in your relationship, and you're trying to decide, okay, should I stay in this relationship? Shouldn't I stay in this relationship? But you haven't even really defined what it means to be in a good relationship. Then, how can you even to make a decision? It's like there's a lot of years where I was struggling in my relationship with my husband, and I had this kind of like weird, I don't know, Disneyland idea of what a relationship was supposed to be like. And that's what I was like thinking, okay, this is success if we're just like happy all the time and everything's perfect and wonderful, and of course life is not like that. But yet if you turn around and you look at your relationship and you're like, okay, well, I want these certain things from this person, and without having to work so hard at it, then I started realizing, oh, my husband does this and he does that, and he's this way and he's so awesome in this way. And then I'm like, gosh, what the heck am I complaining about? I'm like complaining for no reason. It makes no sense, And so, I mean, when I started looking at those things and realizing what I really wanted, then I realized I already had it. I mean, it's stupid, but I mean, but the same thing can work is, in your work. And, I thought it was really interesting as he brings up the one lady who was struggling in her workplace. And she had this one person that she was resentful of because she felt like that person wasn't doing their end of the job. But when she really got to know the person and they started interacting more and they were helping each other, then all of a sudden they became great friends. And and I see this a lot in my own workplace because we, working in retail, we have high turnover. And so people come in and you'll either have this kind of, I don't know, maybe you like them just instantaneously, or there's something about them that kind of rubs you the wrong way. And if I were to just go based on those instant feelings, then I would have a lot of people that I do not get along with, But I can look at them and look for the things that are positive about them. And then I have like completely different attitude towards that person. It was like we had this one manager that came in, I don't know, it was earlier last year or maybe the fall before that. But anyway, she was just one of these people that for whatever reason, just, I don't know, rubbed me the wrong way. And when I started really kind of looking at what she was doing and how she was doing things, I realized, oh, well, she's really great at this and she's great at that. And when she's doing this other thing, it's not like an attack on me. It's just, that's her personality, you know, and it changed my whole attitude towards her. And, you know, and sometimes, you know, working in a job that's just kind of like a mundane job, you can kind of get these feelings of, oh, you know, I'm tired of this, I'm burnt out, I'm this, I'm that. And when you're sitting there going, you know, all you think about is those things, then you can become very unhappy in your job. But when you look at it and you say, okay, you know, what's the purpose of this job in my life? And you kind of define it in a different way, then you can start to focus on those things instead. And then all of a sudden, oh, okay, well, I do like this job. I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a different direction than love. So let's bring it back around to that. You guys say.
Well, actually, I think though you're kind of right though, because we tend to focus on negative things, and which is the opposite of love and being loving, and looking at and the world tends to just gravitate and focus on so much negativity that we forget that like the old saying, you attract more uh, bees with honey than vinegar, or flies with, whatever the actual, but you get the idea. you know, why don't we do that more in life? Instead of focusing on you know, the best in somebody and the positive things in people and what they bring to the table and what they might have that you don't have that can help make the whole situation better, and then genuinely loving people, like I said earlier, just being genuinely loving towards people in a better sense, because we're supposed to, I think we're supposed to love people just genuinely and honestly, because I want to try and look for the best in people, and I don't always. Sometimes I get that person that rubs me the wrong way, and it's just like, "Ugh." But it's the ability to see beyond that and look around that and say, no, I'm not going to go in that. I'm going to change my perspective and, you know, work towards seeing what they bring and what they have that I can find that's good in them.
It was reminding me of, I was listening to a series from Marianne Williamson called Teaching the Teachers, and it's for healers and for people who teach or teach the Course in Miracles or whatever, anybody who's working with clients in a sort of one-on-one basis. And one of the things that I love that she said in the beginning was, before you're with that client, take 5 minutes to really just envelop them in praying for them, blessing them, but seeing them as innocent. Like, we're all innocent in our core. We're children of God, children of the universe, whatever you want to call it, but we all have that innocence within us, no matter what our exterior is showing, from how we grew up, how we do this, blah, 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 blah. It's all like this exterior stuff that we like react to and da-da-da, but if you look at the core of the person and wipe away that exterior stuff, it's like there's this innocence that everyone has, and really be able to just work from that place. And so taking that out into the world, like anywhere, if somebody's angry and flipping out for no reason, like, okay, that's their exterior, that's how they deal with things, but that's in their core. I see their innocence. It's not always easy, of course, but that reminded me of that. And like, really, yeah, it's easy to complain and see the negative in people. It's like we automatically, for some reason, go to that, or those are the things that stand out, like that annoys me, or that person's doing that, but really, yeah, it's important to really see the good and have those goals for each relationship. And I think that's interesting because I know, when in like a romantic relationship, like I'll have goals, but I don't have goals in like my other relationships. So this conversation's making me look at that, like, what's my goals with my mother? What's my goals with my father? Like, how can I look at the innocence in them more? How can I see them in that good space, and rather than like, well, he did that, blah, 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 like how can I set how do I want that relationship to look like, and how can I see the good that maybe that relationship maybe is already present and I'm just not seeing it because I'm looking at all the stuff that isn't what I want. So awesome points. Thank you. That all was helpful for me to look at, the other relationships and having more of maybe a goal of what do I want in each relationship with friends, with family. So I'm gonna look at that more.
That's awesome. I remember somebody else, years ago talking about that, that, everybody, not so much well, anyway, he was saying that everybody whatever they're operating from is like a pure of heart kind of thing for them in their lives. And it may not seem that way to you because whatever they're doing is something either A, you think is wrong, or B, you disagree with, or something along that lines. But when you kind of look at them from their own perspective, is that they aren't doing it because they're evil. It's because they feel that that's the right thing to do for them in their life, and being in a retail business, we have a big problem with shoplifters, and it seems like it's just getting worse every year. And so we get a lot of the people in our store just get really angry about it. And yesterday I overheard one of our district managers talking to our customer service manager about, you just kind of have to realize that these people aren't doing it. They're not out to get us. You have to remember that their lives, for whatever reason, are, they're struggling in their life. They're just working to feed their families. They're just whatever it is. And I kind of already had that kind of perspective, as realizing I don't know what their motivation is for doing what they're doing, but I realized that, obviously it's something in their lives that's forcing them to do that. And I thought that was just a good reminder that he kind of threw out there. And I kind of wish that he had talked to, more than just the one manager, because I feel like a lot of times that our other members of our team just get so angry about it. And I'm like, we're insured. That's why we have insurance. And, that's kind of one of those things that is just part of the business, and it sucks. But at the same time, people they can get in trouble for that. And at some point in time they may, but it's not really our place to, be making such a big deal out of it. It's not, I don't know. I think that it's interesting just kind of remembering that the fact that, these are people too. Even though they are doing something that is against the law, and it can be frustrating, is that they're people and they have lives and they have things that they're just trying to bring their lives together, and they don't know any other way. Or maybe, so that was just something that came up when you were talking about that, Andy.
Maybe the employees where you work need to read Just Mercy.
Yeah, I forgot about that book. Did you add it to the list for ones to vote on for the next chat?
Yeah, I put a couple pictures up that just screenshots of like past lists that we voted on. And so there's about, 5 books there added there.
I was going to jump out and talk a little bit about in the book he talks about success in business relations, but I like what he brought up from this one psychologist, Kevin Lehman, author of Winning the Rat Race Without Becoming a Rat, and he offers 3 laws for success in business. And then I was going to add, I think, a twist on him that I think might work for just in general, but he says, number 1, people love to buy anything, especially if they like the person who is selling it to them. Number 2, you build relationships one conversation at a time. Number 3, knowing your customers and selling your product will take care of itself. So on number 1, people love to buy anything. Well, I think genuinely, if you look at number 1, people want to love and have good relationships with people in general. It's just that we get caught up in all the minutia and all the crap and all things we've been learned, we've taught, we've seen growing up, and from those around us that, yes, have our best interest at heart and love us, but sometimes may not resonate the best with us. And then number two, he says you build relationships one conversation at a time. And I think that's just, you know, outside of even just in business. I think, you know, if you don't take the time to sit down and talk with people, even the ones that you are not the ones that you're looking at and thinking, okay, I don't really like this person. But if you don't take the time to get to know them and sit down and, you know, understand them, then how can you ever understand and get a real true reference of where they're at and where they're coming from, so that way you can find the things that might be able to, you look at and say, oh, okay, I get that, I understand that, I see that, um, and I see the positive qualities that you bring. You know, maybe there's a basis of having a, even if it's a limited relationship, but still one that's positive and goes forward. And then number three, knowing your customers and selling your product, you know, will take care of itself. And I think one, if we know ourselves enough and are open enough to be willing to look at other people and understand them by knowing them, you know, as a weird way of saying it, but they're the product, and getting to know them and understand them, then once they get to know and understand us, that will take care of itself and move forward from there. And I think, you know, that's another way of looking at how, you know, to, you know, sit down and move things forward in a positive and better way, and, you know, in that, you know, with that love and being willing to ultimately just sit down and start it, you know, and give the other person that chance, which a lot of people don't.
I think that's so important. Like, I see this in business a lot. Like, a lot of people, you know, they want to rush and have their product and da 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 and get this and you know, do it in a way that's not organic a lot of the times. And organic is really building those relationships, and it takes time. I was at an event here for a CBD THC like promotion event or knowledge event, and one of the main guys from High Times came to talk. And so there were all these CBD vendors, and I've been wanting to add CBD to my practice. I have no clue. Like, there's so many brands now, and I'm like, where do I start? So I went to the event, like maybe I could meet some brands and get an idea of what is what. And I ended up, I haven't purchased, but the one that I am talking to is because he took the time to actually get to know me. He was like, cool. He, you know, we were having like a conversation. It wasn't so much about the product or what, you know, he asked me about what my practice and stuff about me. And then, you know, I kept asking questions about the product, and he'd ask me again about me. But we just had this talk of building a relationship kind of. And he's the one that I will probably use. There was another guy that was talking to me for a while, but he hasn't been following up. This one has been following up, not nagging me, like he'll just say, hey, how are you doing? You know, like a friend. He's not talking about the product. He's just keeping in touch in a friendly way. And to me, that's like keeping him in the forefront of my mind, because he's reaching out in a friendly way and building that relationship. And the other CBD vendors that I talk to every table there, I don't remember the other brands at all. Like, I don't know their name. I don't remember their logo. I see his logo. I see his name, because he's building the relationship with me. So it's huge, the relationship, and you get to trust somebody. And I see this, I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce here for my acupuncture practice, and I've been part of it for over a year now. But in the beginning, you know, you're building relationships, and maybe for the first like half year, I wasn't seeing anything coming from me going to all these meetings. But now I'm seeing it, because the more I go there and the more I show my face, like, I have so many friends there now, and it's not about the businesses, it's about building these friendships. And now I'm starting to get referrals out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, who referred you? And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And she said she met you at the chamber, and I'm like, oh, wow, you know. So, and just getting referrals from people like, oh, someone told me they thought I would love you, and they had to come see you. And I'm like, okay. So it's just, it takes time, but in the long run, that's how business works. Is totally built on relationships. And I see it so much clearer now, because I'm taking the time to really do that and see that and do that for my own business, rather than push my product. You got to try this. Blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't know anything until they know you, and then they want to, okay, I like you, I'll go with you.
Yeah,
all
that is,
love.
sorry, Catherine, go ahead.
No, that's okay. It's all about love. That's what this book, I love what it said. Mother Teresa somebody asked Mother Teresa how she measured the success of her work or something, and it said she looked kind of perplexed and said, I don't remember the Bible saying anything about success, that we were supposed to focus on love. So I thought that was pretty cool, because I think no matter, what your belief system is, they're all love-based. None of them are based on your bank account.
Yeah, what you were bringing up, Sandy, about this just the building of relationships. It was funny, and your CBD guys. That was like so funny, or not funny, but such a great point, because I was listening again to another podcast, and this one was on the heck were they talking about? They were talking about flipping houses. Like, it was an real estate investing podcast, and they were talking about flipping houses and how hard it is to find a contractor that will call you back, And so they were talking about this big thing of, if you decided you wanted to just answer the phone, if you were a contractor, just something so simple as just answering the phone, and would make you stand out from all the other contractors. And I was laughing about that, because I'm like, it's the same thing in anything. It's like when you go and you connect with another business because you want a service or whatever, and you go in there and, you're not even greeted, or the person who greets you is grumpy, or, you call and they don't answer the phone, or you call and you leave a message and then it takes them days to get back to you. It's like, I've been struggling with this with like accountants. I've been trying to find a decent accountant. And every time that I find somebody, either A, they're just poor at communicating, or B, they don't read what I say to them, and then they respond back with something that doesn't even make sense for my question. I mean, it's just like all of this little stuff, and just trying to find anyone in business these days, it seems like, it's difficult to find people who actually want to have a good customer service mindset, if nothing else. I mean, even if they're not wanting to love, but just having that, like what you were saying, Sandy, just somebody who actually is showing interest in you, like they care whether or not you do business with them. And it just amazes me how many businesses just fail so epically on that side of it. And of course, our store, that's a huge thing, is just to be all about the customer and to be as helpful as you possibly can be. And of course, I see that failure in so many businesses when I just go shopping at other places, and they're just like, you walk by them and they just like turn and pretend like you're not even there. And it's like, God, and earlier in the chapter, when it was just saying people love to buy stuff, but they don't want to buy it from somebody who is grumpy or unhelpful or just ignoring you or whatever. And it's so simple to have bigger success in business if you are just interested in people in some tiny little way. I mean, just like what Catherine was saying earlier when she was helping that customer who was riding with her, and just being helpful. And I've had numerous experiences like that, in my job and in my previous businesses, where people are just like, wow, you are so helpful. I appreciate that so much. Most people wouldn't even care, and that's huge success issue right there. I mean, if you want to be successful in whatever kind of business, you've got to be working on those relationships with your customers. And years ago, when I had my pet grooming business, that was one of the biggest things that I focused on, was that relationship with my pet parents, because they, I mean, if they didn't have, they had been to so many other places where the groomers just wouldn't even listen to what they said they wanted. And and I understand in my case, a lot of times I couldn't do what they wanted, but I would at least call them and say, hey, I can't do this, but I can do this and I can do that. Which do you want me to do? And to put that just choice in their hands, and just that extra little step makes all the difference in your relationships with your customers. It's just making sure that you're listening and paying attention to them, and responding when they reach out to you. And it's so many little tiny things that make the biggest difference in a world where nobody cares anymore, you know? I mean, it's huge.
Now it's funny that we're talking about business and stuff and how much it means to care and go out and, you know, focus on the other person. But why is it so hard, conversely, for us in our relationships, especially our close, you know, like marital relationships or for family relationships, to do that extra step, to go that extra step, to really go out of our way to do stuff for the other person in their love language. You know, once we learn it, you know, first we need to learn it. But even then, why is it so hard for us to go out of our way to do stuff for them, you know, and, you know, just to genuinely make them happy, maybe, or to do something because to show them how much we do love them, even if it's not in their love language, but in some language that might, yeah, they might not fully get it. And like Catherine says, they might look at it and say, um, you know, oh, well, she's just trying to buy me off or this or that. And, you know, with her mom. But, you know, her mom seemed to be trying. It wasn't until she understood what she was doing that, oh, she, you know, could understand it better. But, you know, and I think we all get so turned off, you know, on when people don't do things the way we want them or we don't receive it the way we want, then I think we all just turn ourselves off a little bit. And that doesn't help either. And I think, you know, um, it's at least trying and helping people more and learn more about this book. I'm like with you. I think all of you. I think we need more people to read this book because it would open so many people's eyes to, you know, that everybody does have their own language of how they perceive and receive love, and I think it would really make the world a better place in a lot of ways, you know, if we could get that. But to even just get people to be willing to go out of their way and quit focusing on themselves, you know. Um, I think that's just the biggest thing is to help people learn that too, I think.
And I just wrote in the chat, I mean, Samantha, I think you mentioned it briefly before, like building that relationship regardless if they're going to buy your product or service or whatever, because you never know what else is going to come out of the relationship. Like, you know, people in the chamber who've never, you know, referred to me or whatever, we don't refer to each other. We become good friends. Like we go to events together and, you know, and just other events I've been to where, you know, it's more of a business networking kind of thing, but in the end, it's just building relationships and other things come out of it. You know, they could hear about some other thing that might help you or this or that. And, oh, by the way, try this, blah, 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 you know, and just building real friendships. And so you never know what can come out of these relationships. It may not end up being a business thing, but it could be so many other things. I mean, it's just all abundance. It's all abundance, love and abundance and prosperity. It's all around if you just are genuine, real building of relationships. And there, that's all you need. All you need is love. All you need is love. Do, 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 do. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Okay, I won't scare you with my voice anymore.
That's awesome, Sandy. I love that. You know, I feel like it just needs to change the lyrics just a tiny bit and say all you need is to give love, because that's where it is. You know, I think people get caught up in the whole idea of everyone else is supposed to give it to me first, you know, before I do it. And I think we struggle with that in, you know, like in our personal relationships as well as, you know, business too. But you know, particularly if we're expecting the whole Disneyland version of love that, you know, they're just supposed to be all happy and treat you like wonderful and blah, 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 you know, I don't know. And but if we focus on loving that other person first, then it always works out. You know, I mean, that's my thought on it anyway. And of course, it's all on where you focus, because if you're focused on all the crap you don't like or you're frustrated with or whatever, then how can you even see the love that you have or the love that you're giving or, you know, the love that you're connected with? So We're almost at the top of the hour. Everybody just want to share a final thought before we wrap up for today?
Well, in the appendix of this book, after this last chapter that we're on now, it gives the questions that you can answer, or you can figure out your love language. So get this book, read this book, figure out your love language, figure out the love languages of those around you. And it also talks briefly at the end about online dating, and how more and more people are going to that some people find like they can be better matched up with people that have their same values or interests or whatever. Then it also goes on to say that, I don't know what the percentage was, like 50% or something of people misrepresent themselves, or it's higher than that, I can guarantee you. I don't do online dating. I have in the past tried it, and the misrepresentations were so vast that I gave up on it. I think online dating, it's easy to I don't know why people misrepresent themselves, because eventually you're going to meet that other person and it's all going to be revealed, and then you can't trust anything that they've said because they've said so many untruthful things. So it ends the relationship before it ever starts. So it makes no sense. But people, always are trying to, I don't know, maybe they're just not comfortable with themselves as they are, so they build themselves up with something else, I think that's part of the reason, being online, it's not the same as being in a room with somebody and looking them in the eye and trying to lie to them. It's much easier to lie when you're sitting behind a screen typing words. Just like I'm going to say that, rideshare drivers, 9 times out of 10, they're never going to see that passenger again. So maybe they feel like they don't have to be pleasant, or they don't have to give good customer service or whatever, because, that person's just there to give them their fare and then they're out. They're never going to see them again. But you never know. You never know who's in your car. You never know where, what connections are there. Like, I seriously could have dropped that rider, just canceled the trip at the very beginning because it was so messed up, and left her there for somebody else to deal with. But it was so awesome because the more we talked, we were almost like carbon copies of one another. Like, we had so much in common. And the conversation went so deep, so quick because of those similarities. And we even touched on, being single parents and the guilt that comes from that, from not spending enough time with your kids because you got to work and, to keep we had an amazing connection, even though it was just 2 hours. And yeah, I'll probably never see this woman again, ever, but she was so appreciative. Like you said, Samantha, so many people just won't take that. It doesn't take much. It takes so little effort to actually make a difference in other people's life. But there's so many people that won't do even the tiniest, littlest thing to try to help other people. And you're absolutely right about where's your focus, because you could be in the best relationship in the world, but if you're only focused on the one thing that pisses you off or doesn't meet your needs, then you poison the entire relationship by having your focus there. And it could be your own ignorance, as in the case of my mom and I, it could be your own ignorance. They're doing everything they can to show you that they love you, but you're misinterpreting it. So get the book, read the book, and, join us and let us know what you think about it. Even though we're ending up this book and we're going to be voting on a new book, we still love to talk about any book that we've read. So, and be sure to add if you come to our Mindset Mastery Collective Facebook page and look at the list of books that we're voting on, and you have a book that you'd like us to read and talk about, even if you're not coming on here and participating, you just want us to read it and talk about it, then put it on the list. Love you guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this book has, for me, really been an eye opener and really helped me to understand some things, and even in a couple of my relationships, work on some things that needed to be worked on, and say some things that needed to be said, to help you know correct some things. And I still have a lot to go for other areas and other family members and stuff. Um, but this is a book that's really impacted my life in the long run, and you know as almost all the books we've done, but it's just like here with the people here. Like when I first came on, I didn't really know any of you guys. I didn't really, and now I grown to love you guys, and grown to consider you some of my dearest and closest friends. And even though we haven't met physically or anything like that or in person, I feel like I know you guys, and I can share and do and think. That's part of the cultivating of you know being here and learning and understanding, and learning some of your guys' quirks, and but at the same time, and loving them, but at the same time, seeing your genuineness and your heart, and what you're striving for, and just as we all are trying to better ourselves and be better people out there in the world for other people. And with that, it's part of what I look forward in my week. It's part of I got to be on the Saturday when I can't be here. Sometimes it's like part of life, but it's like I hate not being here. So that's part of what keeps me coming here and keeps me coming back. So I appreciate you guys and love you guys.
Hugs, Dan. Hugs, 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 hugs. Sandy's, Catherine. I love you guys. So, okay, so today ends the book, The 5 Love Languages, single edition, and so I posted a post in our Facebook group, which is, and you can find it by just going to mindsetmasterycollective.com. That's just a link that'll send you directly to our Facebook group. And so if you haven't already made a book suggestion, go ahead and do that. On Sunday, I'll go ahead and create a poll so that we can start voting on the next book. So at this point, we probably won't get together next week because we won't have a book. And then, but hopefully we can get something voted on and then chosen, and then potentially the following week as we can meet. I don't know when.
Oh wait, the following week will be Thanksgiving.
Okay, so we're probably looking at getting back together again on December 1st. That's a couple of weeks off. So if we can get I'll post the poll tomorrow, and we could get it voted on by next weekend, and then we'll have basically 2 weeks to get the next book. So is that right? Yeah, that's what it looks like. So 2 Saturdays. So it'll be 3 Saturdays from today that we'll meet up. So we'll skip 2 weeks because of the holiday in there. So, all right. So guys, have a great, awesome, amazing weekend, and we'll see you next time on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.